This is the Farms.com soybean report brought to you by Dow Seeds. Dow Seeds, leaders in customer-first technology.
Hi, I'm Loucas. I'm a customer agronomist with Dow Seeds, and we're here at the farm show today, and we're going to talk about how the drought has affected soybeans. It's 2016, it's fall, and we've had a super dry year. A lot of parts of the province have gotten quite a bit below average rainfall, and we're going to talk about what it does to a soybean plant and how the soybean plant can adjust to those dry conditions. So first of all, I wanted to talk to you about what happens in a regular soybean plant during a normal year when there's plenty of rainfall. So this would be a good example of a regular soybean plant. Got some branches on here, lots of pods all the way up the nodes, multiple pods at each node. So what happens with the plant is when it's in the ground, it's absorbing water in the roots, and that's going to pick up sugars and hormones and everything, and those flow up the stem. When that goes past each of these nodes, it tells the plant how much water is around, how much nutrients, what hormones are available, and that tells the plant when to flower, how many flowers to put out at each node. And that just travels up the plant and goes all the way up the stem throughout the growing season, and that's how kind of the plant communicates with itself and tells itself what the environment's like. So for this year, if you have adequate rain, each node is going to have multiple flowers. You guys have all seen this out in the field. We've got 4 on this one. Sometimes you'll see 5, even 6 pods on a node if it's a really good year. And those pods will have anywhere from 1 to 4 beans in them. Every once in a while you can find a 5-bean pod, but typically the average is about 2 to 3 beans per pod, depending on pod load. The other thing that the plant can tell is it knows how many pods it's got based on those hormones it's producing. And so if there's only a few pods at the bottom, it'll put more on the top. And if there's a lot of pods on the bottom, that's when you start to see single pod nodes up here because the plant can only support so many beans. So that's kind of what goes on in a normal plant. I brought in a plant from, we're at the farm show, so we've had quite a bit of water here. We got good fertility. So that first plant was from here. I brought in a plant from some sandy areas near where I live where they've had dry conditions and not a lot of moisture. So what happens when you're in those conditions is the plant knows that it doesn't have a lot of moisture because that water that the roots would normally be absorbing, it's absorbing less of that. It's because there's less water and the plant can't actually use as much up in the top of the plant. So when the plant's using water in the top, it's pulling water up the plant and it's pulling those hormones and nutrients with it. So that's when it's telling the plant, different parts of the plant, what's going on. So on a dry year, pulling up less water, pulling up less nutrients and hormones, so that tells the plant that it can't support multiple flowers. So you see down at the bottom here on a lot of these nodes, you only have a single pod. So because it was dry and there was less movement of water going around and hormones and nutrients, those flowers, when they opened and they pollinated, if there's not enough nutrients, they'll abort. So that's kind of what controls flower abortion. So down in the bottom here, normally we'd have pods at each of these nodes. Those all aborted because it was dry in July when it was starting to flower. And then we got a little bit of rain. So up here you have some nodes that have 3 pods on them. We got a 3-bean pod, 2 3-beans, and 1 with a single bean in it. So that's when we had some periods of moisture. And then you get up here at the top in August when the plant was putting on, normally in a good year when you get a big pod load up here, we call those the Florida beans. This year we've got one pod per node, and that was the plant telling itself, well, we still got a little bit more energy and we could put on a single pod, but it didn't put on multiple pods up here. So that's kind of what goes on in a droughty year. So if you hit a dry period in the middle, some drought conditions, you'll have pods on the bottom where there was moisture, and then when it gets dry, the flowers at these nodes either abort or you'll have 1 flower set of pods, so you have single pods up here. And then if you get some more moisture again, you'll see multiple pods up here at these top nodes. So basically you can kind of see what your season, the moisture's done throughout the season. If you take a look at it, you don't just want to take one plant, take a look at a few plants in your field, but you can kind of gauge if you had a dry period or a period of stress in there where it's aborted a lot of those flowers. So that's what we want to talk about. How drought affected your soybeans, and I wish we'd had more rain this year, but hopefully next year we'll have a nice good crop and life will be all green again. So if you want some more information, you can look at our website, www.dowseeds.ca, or you can contact your agronomist, your sales rep, and we can get you some more information.
This has been the Farms.com soybean report brought to you by Dow Seeds. Dow Seeds, leaders in customer-first technology.